Welcome to Video 5 for the project to amend the City Zoning Ordinance. This presentation will cover changes to industrial and special purpose zones. Before continuing, we encourage you to watch the 3.5-minute introductory video. Also, if at the end of this video you have further questions or are wondering about terms used that you might not be familiar with, we encourage you to contact a Planning Division staff member. Also, please keep in mind that in an effort to keep these presentations under 15 minutes long, you may find that we haven't covered something in as much depth as you would like. We encourage you to pause the presentation on slides that interest you and review the information on the screen, as it will typically be more in depth than we cover in the audio portion. For this video, we'll cover the zone conversion chart and a summary of the standards for each of the zones. This slide shows how we have proposed to convert existing zones. For the industrial zones, we are proposing to change the name of the GC1 or General Commercial Zone to the LM or Light Manufacturing and Heavy Commercial Zone. This is a better description of what the zone really is. It allows much heavier commercial uses than, say, just a retail store. For the INM1 and INM2 industrial and manufacturing zones, we are proposing to combine them into a single industrial and manufacturing zone. The INM2 zone was written specifically to accommodate the stockyards. The trouble is that if the zone were ever applied somewhere else, a use like the stockyards could be built again. This really isn't an appropriate use for the city. For the special purpose zones, we are proposing to combine the M1 and R&D zones into a single R&D zone. The M1 was really written for the airport, and the other areas where it has been applied are better suited for a research and development zone. A new special purpose zone for parks and open space is also being proposed. The R&D research and development zone really isn't changing much from what it is today in terms of its standards. It represents the combination of the current M1 and R&D1 zones, which had very similar allowed uses and standards for development. Common uses will for the most part remain the same. Professional offices, education centers, employment centers, and research and development labs will all be allowed. This zone is currently found north of Freeman Park in association with the ISU campus and the INL campus. It is hoped that the combination of these zones will allow for this new zone to be used more broadly throughout the city for employment centers and additional research parks. It should also be used for higher education centers such as University Place and the College of Eastern Idaho. These areas currently have a residential zone which requires a public hearing for a conditional use permit whenever new construction is proposed. The proposed R&D zone will provide an easier path to approval for construction. This zone also has proposed modifications that remove redundant development standards that are already a part of the zoning code. Some of the standards from this particular zone have worked well enough that they have been proposed for all commercial zones. The Parks and Open Space Zone is a new zone that clearly identifies these public and protected spaces on the zoning map, and also allows the Parks and Recreation Department to do what they need to do in parks without as much zoning oversight. In the current ordinance, parks and anything that gets built in a park requires a conditional use permit hearing. This makes sense for larger projects such as a master plan or a major structure, but we've had to hold hearings over new restroom facilities and playgrounds for parks, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. The Parks and Open Space Zone will eliminate the need for hearings for smaller items, but still require them for major plans and structures. Parks and open spaces are a critical thread in the fabric of our community. This new zone is designed to identify them, protect them, and allow them to develop through a more rational process. Thank you again for viewing this brief presentation. We hope you found it informative and helpful. This section of the code really hasn't changed a lot because it seems to have functioned fairly well over the years, but we hope that the combination of zones and the introduction of the Parks and Open Space Zone will be a benefit to the development of the community. Again, please feel free to contact our staff. We'd be happy to answer your questions and hear your thoughts on this important issue. Please also consider taking a look at our other video presentations on the rest of the zoning ordinance.